Hello!
Hello AOS fans!
It's the Agents of Sigmar.
And welcome to another video showcasing the new Warhammer Wonderworld's Rivals of the Mirrored City pack.
Ooh.
You probably know this already, but it's going back over some old warbands, revitalising, rejuvenating, and we're having a look at how that has been done. We should say thank you to GW for sending us a copy of this box.
Absolutely.
So today we're talking about the Thorns.
Ooh. Yeah, we're going to be covering the Briar Queen and the Thorns. We're not going to go through every single card and every single fighter card and everything, but we're just going to try and highlight all of the changes. So if you're familiar with them, you can then get a feel of how they've changed. If not, you're going to get the new cards anyway, and then you won't have to worry about what they were like before.
Inevitably will be something, because that's what we do.
Now, straight off the bat, there are some big changes for the Thorns. I think they were one of those warbands that when they came out, they were really strong, and then they had to nerf them a bit, and now I feel like they've tried to balance that in this new version.
I feel like they've had nerf upon nerf upon nerf.
Yeah.
So it's quite good that they've restructured them, because I think they're a really popular and a really aesthetically pleasing warband, so it's nice that they're back. Yeah.
The first thing that's changed slightly is their inspiration mechanic is just more specific. It says that they inspire in the first inspiration step of your turn. So because there are multiple points at which you hit that inspiration step, they specify it's only at the very start. So you effectively have to start your activation next to someone, which was how it was before.
Okay.
The other thing is they've all gained a new Wave of Terror special rule, which means that if they're supporting another fighter, a friendly fighter, and they have a charge token, they count as 2 fighters, not just 1.
Okay, so if they charge in, don't kill your opponent, don't kill the fighter they're next to, then the next person will get double support.
Exactly. There are also lots of cards and things in here that give people a charge token when you do something with them as well. So sometimes you might just shove a load of people up, give them charge tokens to get all those juicy supports.
Juicy supports. Interesting. Yeah. So the Queen, massively different or not?
She is mostly the same. Okay. She has changed very little, apart from the things we already mentioned with the Wave of Terror and everything. The only difference really for her is she goes from 3 damage when she's inspired to 2 damage, but she gains Grievous. So it's not quite the same guaranteed damage output, because she used to be a monster.
Now, Varclav, I do know from your notes that Varclav has had a major change.
He has had one major, well, several major changes in fact, and he's, I think, the key to this warband, because he had his ability to shove everybody.
Well, that's where all the FAQs and things.
Exactly.
Yeah. So tell us, what's the new Varclav like?
So the new Varclav, he's a caster, he's a level 1 wizard.
That is bonkers. If you asked me of all the things that they were going to do, that would be the one that would never ever come up.
He does lose 1 dodge when uninspired. He used to be 2 dodge when uninspired. Now he's down to 1, which I think is fair. I don't think many people should be starting on 2 dodge. No.
So you've got to go and track him down and kill him early, maybe.
Yeah, possibly, because unless he gets close to inspire, he's not going to be inspired either. So you, as playing him now, you've got to decide, do I want to get him in close, get that extra dodge on his inspire, but then put him in the line of fire or not. When he's inspired, he does lose 1 damage now as well, because he used to deal 3 damage, so he hit like a truck. Right. And now he goes down to 2 damage. Right. His ability has now changed to the Solemn March ability, and when he uses this ability, it's a bit like the Warden. So you pick 2 chain rasps, and you can push them both up to 2 hexes in any direction, because I think they changed it so you had to go nearer the enemy, and you could only use it once. He can do it as an action however many times he wants, but you push 2 of them wherever you like up to 2 hexes, and it's a push, not a move, so they don't get gain a move token. But then afterwards, if you want, you can give them charge tokens.
You can give them charge tokens to tie in with the ability.
You could possibly, if someone makes a charge early, you could then swamp them with bodies.
And can you push fighters multiple times?
Yeah, there's no limit on who you pick. You can just pick 2 fighters, push them 2 hexes, and if you want, give them a charge token afterwards.
It used to be you could do all the chain rasps.
Yeah, it used to be.
Now you can do 2.
Yeah, and then they changed it. They FAQ'd it so you could only do that ability once, because before you used to be able to do it multiple times as well. So you just end with loads of ghosts all over you.
So it's still pretty strong.
I think so. I think it changes the tactic of it, but it still has a lot of strength in there.
So the Everhang, now it's bizarre, because Varclav and the Queen were like terrifying, but in our early games I was always more scared of the Everhang, because he used to get cleave when you inspired him, and he was quite easy to inspire because you could push him because he was a chain rasp, and so I was always terrified of the Everhang, and his model
Cleave was
really
the
scary.
Thing back then as well.
His model was really scary too.
It's very cool, the person stretched out the hand with the hanging rope. So his attack has dropped from 2 hammers to 2 swords when he's uninspired. Reason why
it was really scary, because two hammers was
that was the role to have, and his movement, because he used to be move 4 for no really good reason at all, and everyone else is 3, and his has dropped to 3 now as well.
He's literally the only one who's tied down.
Exactly, or tied up, whichever way it is. He does gain a rather interesting reaction called the throttle reaction, which he uses after his activation, and you basically roll a magic dice for everybody adjacent to them, and on a lightning or a crit, they become staggered.
Every enemy
fighter, every enemy fighter,
quite cool.
which is quite funky.
So instead of using his throttle to move faster, he's using it to do that.
Hey, very good. When he's inspired, nothing really changes about him. His stats are the same as the old card, just with the extra throttle ability.
Okay, so the biggest question, bigger than is Varclav a wizard, bigger than can he push loads of people, the most important question that everybody wants to know is, do the chain rasps now have names?
They finally do. It's not just Chain Rasp 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 anymore. Kind of fitting in with their image, a bit like the Petitioners did with the Sepulchral Guard. So.
Can't believe they didn't go with Mr. Fur Coat though.
I know. Yeah. It's just a missed opportunity, Games Workshop.
So what are they called?
So the first one is called the Iron Wretch, as we used to call him Buckethead, because he had what looked like a bucket on his head. His attack changes to 2 swords and 1 damage instead of 1 sword and 2 damage.
Okay.
And I think that makes him a bit more accurate because you're going to get lots more assists in with all the charge assist stuff with the Wave of Terror. So it makes him a bit more accurate. Inspired, he's pretty much exactly as he was before. So I think his damage increases and stuff, but they go to 2 dodge and all that usual stuff.
And I'm going to guess that's much the same as the Exhumed.
The Exhumed, Mr. Plank, exactly the same as above. Slightly more accurate, especially with the double assists, but a little bit less damage.
And who else was there? I can't remember what they were.
Well, there was the one with the club. He didn't really have a name, but he's now called the Silenced.
Silent Disco.
He, uninspired, is absolutely unchanged. He's exactly the same as before. Inspired, his attack now also gains staggered, and it has the knockback that it had previously anyway. So the only change for him is that when he's inspired, he gains stagger as well, which might come in handy.
So the final one?
Final one is the Uncrowned, or as we used to call him, Headless Harry.
Totally Headless Harry.
Absolutely, yeah. Uninspired, his attack again goes from 1 hammer to 2 swords, so it makes him a little bit more accurate, especially with all the double assists, which is nice. And inspired, he's completely the same. So they haven't made a lot of changes.
3 of them are mostly the same, and then the Silence is a little bit different.
Yeah, exactly. So not a lot of changes on them, but I don't think they needed a lot of changes.
Now, in the days of old, the Thorns were very objective based. You try and take your supremacy, you try and take that one where you scored supremacy twice in a row in the days, I can't remember what that was called, but is that still going to be the case? And you've still got lots of objectives, whole objectives, or is it
they do have a mixture now. It's not all as obvious. They've got a lot of cards which are like have an objective and kill someone and stuff like that, like a lot of them. So there's a dependency on the 2 of them. Right. Again, as like before, they now have a fully legal deck. With surges such as Sorcerer's Syndicate, taking someone out of action with a wizard, where you have 2 wizards now, and they both still hit fairly nicely. So that's possibly.
Yeah, it's not with a spell; it's with a wizard.
Exactly, it's just a wizard deals damage. So it could be via a spell, or it could be club over the head.
Like a load of thorns around the neck.
Exactly. There's also throat cutters for taking someone out with an inspired fighter. So again, it's fairly easy to inspire your fighters, and some of them hit quite nicely once they're inspired. So that's another surge card worth taking. And you have Distract the Watch for having 1 fighter adjacent to an enemy and 2 other fighters on objectives. You haven't even got to hit someone, you just got to stand on 2 objectives and then have someone else standing near someone. So you
effectively could push 2
people on the objectives that are right at the back of your board, and then next turn just push 2 people forwards. And it's not after your opponent's activation either, it's after a activation, so it's much easier to score, I feel, with Varclav's pushy. There's no more treacherous foes for making 3 reactions.
Not a bit of treacherous foe.
It was a fairly safe card to take, but you do get 2 glory for things like Reclaim Turf just by holding 3 objectives and one of them not in your territory. Tide of Death just by holding more objectives than the enemy, and Take the City.
That's really easy to score because often people are just not noticing objectives.
Exactly. And Take the City is still in there, and it's the same as before, which is holding all the objectives in 1 territory, which you could do in your territory very easily and pairs nicely with a lot of the other cards.
And they're all end phase.
Those last 3 are all end phase ones, yes. So there's a nice mix there between surge cards that are much easier than they used to be, and end phase cards that sort of all have a bit more of a theme around holding objectives, stuff like that.
Gambits. Any new spells? Any new interesting things?
I'm going to rip the plaster off right now and say that Howling Vortex is no longer in there. I think, given the way the meta is now, Howling Vortex would be a absolutely horrible spell to still be around.
Yes. Are there more spells?
There are more spells.
You'd expect that because there are 2 wizards.
Yeah, exactly. There are 3 spells in there. There's Sudden Mugging, which needs 1 swirl and allows you to do that, and move a Chain Rasp anywhere, so you just put them somewhere else.
Nice.
Torment's Lash for another single swirl, and this time you can pick either a friendly or an enemy fighter within 4 hexes. If it's an enemy fighter, you just do a damage to them. But if it's a friendly fighter, you can push them a hex or 2 hexes if it's chain rasp. So again, lots of manoeuvrability there. And Castigating Scream.
Ooh, that sounds painful.
It does sound very painful. Which is 1 swirl again and gives you +1 dice to your next attack. And also, if that attack is supported, the enemy fighter gets -1 defense. Ooh. So that's potentially
to a minimum of
1 always, yes. But that's quite a nasty set of
Can you imagine
spells.
One that wasn't to a minimum of 1.
Oh, horrible!
Break loose.
There'd be uproar in the world. There is sadly no more Drifting Advance, which was your ability to shove all the chain rasp forward, much like Varkav's ability. And you don't get Sudden Appearance either, unfortunately. But you do get Terrifying Advance, which enables you to push 2 of your fighters and stagger everyone that's around them. You've got Endless Malice, which is still in there for those missed attacks, so you can re-roll the attack again. And you've got Spectral Touch, which now is better because it gives you cleave and ensnare. It just used to give you cleave before. Nice. And Spectral Parry to put someone on guard. Maddening Cackle, which was the one you used to play when someone used to miss an attack and you'd uninspire them and they'd stayed uninspired forever. It's gone. It's no longer in there,
that's
thankfully.
Probably fair enough.
But you do gain Backshanker, which is one of my favourite named cards. Backshanker.
I'm not sure about Backshanker.
You've got to make sure you pronounce it right. This enables you to move a minion and basically put it next to the target of an attack so you can gain those assists. And if they've already got a charge token, then you're going to get double assists. So that all works together. And you've also got Unbound Crooks, which enables you to take a minion with no move or charge tokens and place them on any hex in enemy territory. Much more popping up of bodies all over the place, or not bodies.
Getting that supports and things in.
Yeah, so if your opponent's hiding in the back of their half, hoping you're going to spend ages getting there, they're going to find spookies just popping up all over the place all of a sudden, so they're not going to be able to hide.
Upgrades then?
There are unfortunately more very nice cards are gone. There's no more Strangling Coils for 3 swords and 3 damage. I mean, who thought that was a suitable card to put as an upgrade? But you do have Spectral Coils for a range 2, 3 sword, 1 damage attack with Grievous. That also has the benefit that if the fighter who has it dies, you can give it to another fighter.
That's quite cool.
So it's like keeps popping around to everybody else.
And it doesn't break after you...
No, it doesn't break.
So you just keep going.
Yeah, once you put it on.
That's
quite funky. I like that.
And it's not super unbad because it's only 1 damage.
Yeah, well, with Grievous as well. But yeah, it's not terrible.
No.
You also lose Inescapable Vengeance to be able to make those charges by jumping onto any starting hex, which the Queen used to love doing. But you do get to keep your Shacklegeist chains, which gives you that extra glory when Varklav kills people. You also still have Grasping Thorns, which is when the Queen used to attack someone and then just, instead of pushing them away, you could effectively push them 2 hexes so they'd end up closer.
Right.
So you sort of pull them in closer to get splat even more.
To get you.
And you've got Driven by Hatred as well, which gives you the +1 dice when the attacker charges, and things like Chill Touch to give you Ensnare, which is always nice. There's no Creeping Terror anymore to be able to fly through people, potentially doing lots of damage. That one we used to go and every hex you move through that had an enemy fighter and you'd roll a dice, and on like a hammer or crit you'd do a damage.
I forgot about this, because some of these cards, and I particularly found it in the Monog, when I went through the Monog cards, I've played them so long since we played them, I've forgotten about some of these cards.
So that one's now gone, so if you've forgotten about it, don't bother remembering. And there's And there's also no Face of Death to reduce the number of dice people roll when they're near you, but you do get Awful Leer, which enables you to use once per round as a reaction, targeting someone within 4 hexes. They basically can't then make a charge in their next activation. So if you wait till right near the end of the round, then go, Monog, stay over there. And he's like, oh, come on.
Oh, that's harsh.
You've also got a card called Horrifying Malice, which reduces adjacent enemy attacks by 1 if you have a charge token. So that could improve your survivability. And Merciless Superior, which means you can put that on someone who isn't a Chain Rasp, so it's going to be on Varklav or your Queen, and it means that Chain Rasps within 2 hexes can re-roll one of their defense dice, which is just a little bit extra survivability.
It's OP to me.
Overall, it feels like the Spookies have been hit quite hard with the nerf bat in some areas, but I
just go from your pricing. I don't see that.
I think some of the cards, they've lost some very nice cards.
Maybe that's what I'm not.
And they've gained some okay cards, but they've got some much better objectives and stuff out there as well.
Yeah, the objectives seem good. Their manoeuvrability seems quite strong again, whereas it had been nerfed into the ground.
Yeah. They've got a lot of ability to pop people up and to get those double supports in from charged fighters and stuff like that. There's a lot of ways to get lots of extra support and make your attacks much more accurate than they used to be, which I think will definitely come in handy with them. Obviously, Varklav has taken a bit of a pump, so he's going to be not quite so integral to your overall plan, but he can still push people, and he still gains that ability to give them the charge tokens after he's pushed them, which could be very helpful.
He's a wizard, Varklav. He's a wizard, Varklav. You're a wizard.
I think overall, like with Scritch, when the video we did with Scritch, it's less about the main characters again, and it gives you a bit more rounding. Yeah, it gives you
away from the Voltron.
Exactly, it gives you a bit more of an even sort of coverage on everybody. It's not just the Queen show; everybody gets a look in, except maybe John Deacon.
Anyway, the show must go on. So do consider liking and subscribing.
Because we are the champions.
And watching all our other videos. I trust you, we will rock you. Do consider supporting us on Patreon, where you can hear more terrible music-based puns and puns of another nature, free of charge. Well, it's not free of charge, you're paying us on Patreon. But do consider that. Every pound that we get that comes in and gets ploughed back into Pete's kids' education. No, into the channel, which is obviously great. But obviously, don't feel obliged to do that. But do that.
Yeah, and do leave a comment below on what you're looking forward to most for this warband, and do go check out the other videos and let us know on those ones what you're looking forward to there as well.
Absolutely. I'm off to check my monologues.